Hello, my friends. My name is Teacher Evelyn or Evelyn Joy, and welcome back to my channel. I don't have much time, but I'm going to read one chapter from Parenting Teens with Love and Logic. Okay. Love and Logic is a series. You know what? Okay. It's a series of books that are really, really good. You know what? We don't have all that much time, so what I'm going to do is, instead of reading chapter 1, I'm going to read the intro, which is giving an overview of this whole parenting approach to Love and Logic. The reason I have the teen one is because it was the one on sale, and my kids will be teens before you know it, right? And I have viewers that have teenagers, right? So instead of reading chapter 1, I'm reading the intro. Introduction. Parents whose children are now turning 13 know that kids face far greater challenges than they did just a generation ago. Risky behaviors such as binge drinking, drug use, and premature sexual activity are more rampant than ever in our high schools, and children are experimenting with them at younger ages. Research tells us that the levels of clinical depression in high schools now are similar to what they were in mental health institutions in the 1950s. Roughly 1 in 4 show such symptoms. Add to the greater availability and greater potency of drugs such as marijuana and methamphetamine. Methamphetamine. I hear that word. I haven't seen it written before. The rampant increase of sexually transmitted infections among youth and the increased isolation of our kids from caring adults for a number of cultural reasons. And it is easy to see that our children are facing many difficult and even life and death decisions earlier in life. That means parents are also facing far greater challenges than we did just a few short years ago. Most parents learn parenting simply by doing it. We feel joy and relief when our children learn how to live and grow on their own. We feel the sting of disappointment when an approach fails. We suffer dread when it looks like our children, despite our efforts, somehow aren't going to turn out right. This kind of trial and error parenting can be pretty nerve-wracking in light of the consequences looming over our kids' lives. Do you find yourself wondering whether you're doing the right thing to equip kids for the challenges they're facing? Do you wonder how to equip yourself for the challenges you're facing? Take heart. You're not alone. Parenting is a challenge and an opportunity for anyone with teenagers. It doesn't matter what kind of batting average you've been maintaining so far. Adolescence can be a whole new ball game. That's scary. We, Foster and Jim, the authors, have watched our own children grow through adolescence, and we have dealt with thousands of other parents and teens through our respective professional psychiatry and education. We have some coaching tips, and we have some coaching tips we're convinced will help you. Love and Logic approach. This is what we're here for. Tell us about it. Sorry. We offer an approach called Parenting with Love and Logic. We spelled it out in an earlier book by that name. You may have read it, learned its principles, and applied them to your children. If you haven't read Parenting with Love and Logic, you might find it helpful to get a hold of a copy, especially to read the first part. Although we will cover many of those same principles from a different perspective in this book, specifically about teens. If you have read Parenting with Love and Logic, you've got a good jump into the material here. When you come to sections you're familiar with, read them as a refresher course in Love and Logic Parenting, or simply skim through them. I mean, you bought the book, right? Why do we call our approach Love and Logic Parenting? The first half, love, is essential to parenting. As you will learn, however, love does not mean hovering around your teens to protect them from all the rocks flung at them by the world. Nor does love mean tolerating outlandish, disrespectful, or illegal behavior. Rather, love means maintaining a healthy relationship with our teens, empowering them to make their own decisions, to live with their own mistakes, and grow through the consequences. Second half of our approach, logic, centers on the consequences themselves. Most decisions and mistakes lead to logical consequences, and those consequences, when accompanied by empathy, compassion for the disappointment, frustration, and pain that teens experience, will drive home lessons powerfully enough to change a teen's thinking for a lifetime. In other words, logic allows our kids to figure out for themselves the cause and effect patterns of their own decisions and behaviors. lead to certain consequences. It allows them to know that we love, support, and feel empathy for them in their situations, but will not bail them out. And it allows responsibility to develop in them as they work through their difficulties and solve their problems for themselves. Using love and logic doesn't mean we transfer all of our answers or values to our teens. Instead, we help place them in situations where they can discover answers and values on their own. Who is an adolescent? Although this book is called Parenting Teens with Love and Logic, it is actually about parenting adolescents. The definition of teen is clear. A teen is someone who exists between his or her 13th and 20th birthday. Adolescent is a bit more Adolescent is a bit more ambiguous. An adolescent can be packaged as a child of 10 or as an adult of 40, living with his parents and acting 14. Oh, I didn't know that counts as an adolescent. Or a man married to a woman who plays the role of mother to a husband, acting 17. Thank you, Jesus, I'm not in that situation. That sounds like a nightmare. Okay, sorry. So, how do you know if your child is an adolescent and that the examples and advice given in this book apply to your situation? For our purposes, an adolescent is a person who, number one, is newly dealing with intense physical and social changes. Number two, has the ability whether or not it is used, to figure out how to express himself or herself. And 3, is capable of making productive, healthy decisions, hormones or no. Hormones or nah. Just kidding. This definition incorporates important conditions, and this book will be most helpful if all 3 conditions are met. An adolescent is experiencing life's most intense changes. These adjustments include changes in appearance and in bodily urges. An adolescent also knows that within a relatively short time, he or she will be living in a different place with different expectations and with new people, expressing himself or herself in new ways. In early adolescence, our children begin to develop the ability to think like adults, taking the great leap from concrete thinking to understanding metaphors and similes. They are able to weigh abstract concepts, and they wonder if the means really do justify the ends. Let's look at an example. The parent asks his or her child, "What does it mean that people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones?" If the child answers about breaking glass, then he or she is a concrete thinker. If the child says something along the lines of, "You better be careful before you say something about someone else," when the same thing could be said about you, then he or she is an abstract thinker. The ability of our adolescents to see cause and effect relationships, to apply situational ethics, to put things into an adult perspective, and to recognize parental and societal shortcomings has the potential to cause all sorts of tension between us and our children. These changes may make rebellion more likely, but they also make deep and delightful parent-child relationships possible. It's not an easy job to parent children who are reaching the threshold of adulthood, coping with an updated brain, sounds like a computer, experiencing new feelings, and immersing themselves in new experiences. Parenting styles that vary from demanding and controlling to permissive and accommodating. Okay, it's time for me to go. I'm going to finish this paragraph and I have to go teach a class, guys. I just had one class off. Okay. Parenting styles that vary from demanding and controlling to permissive and over-accommodating may be marginally effective with younger children, but they are doomed to failure when used with adolescents. It is therefore our privilege and blessing, really, to offer the philosophy, tools, and techniques that will help you parent your adolescents towards responsible adulthood. All right, guys, I look forward to reading more of this book with you guys. I did not finish the introduction. There's another page and a half. No, there's another 2 pages because there's 2 half pages. But anyway, that's the beginning of the introduction of Parenting Teens with Love and Logic. More to come. Bye-bye. Thank you.